Hello, everybody. I am so excited to bring to you tonight one of my favorite clients. His name is Dave. He's a colleague. He's a leader in the industry, and he is certainly shaking things up. He has accomplished so many things over the last, 6 or 7 months. And I can't wait for him to inspire you with his story of transformation, like how he's shown up for his life, how he's shown up for his goals, how even when he didn't know maybe what he wanted, how he kept being relentless at figuring out and searching for that clarity, seeking clarity, which is such a high performing habit. So I'm excited to have this chat with him tonight and to inspire all of you. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you for that fantastic introduction. Yes, my name is Dave Abasamis. I'm a regional manager. Excited to be here today to share my story and hopefully inspire others to take that jump and take their lives to the next level with you.
I'm so pumped because you're an extraordinary example of literally what is possible when you have the tenacity, when you have the courage, when you have the confidence to, dream bigger, to go for what you want, to, not deny yourself of all the desires that we have in our heart, to uncover those desires, even when you don't know. Because I know a lot of the work we did in the beginning was like getting that clarity for you. So let's talk about in the beginning, because I know that, everyone who is looking for transformation at some point or another, they are searching for a coach on the internet webs. They don't know where to find like the right person. There's all these fears and hesitations and objections going on in their mind and like all these thoughts. And so I just want to take everyone back to that moment with you. Like, what was going on in your head, like when you were searching for a coach?
Yeah, great question. And quite frankly, I think the entire process early on was all about hesitation and skepticism. I had not worked with a coach before. I know I was going through a tough time in my life that I needed change and help, but I don't think I knew what that really was. I think if I were related to sports, and the best athletes in the world who have coaches, I thought, well, maybe if Tiger Woods and other professional golfers need coaching, well, maybe I can take advantage of coaching. And so when I was searching for a coach, high performance coaching came up, and I saw a number of different people on Instagram and other social media platforms and online. I set out about 5 messages and to set up meetings, and you were my first. And what I remember in that situation, or that first call, was that I was sweating, I was uncomfortable, and you made me do the work. You uncovered things in that first call that I had never thought would be extracted, or again, maybe never even thought that were inside of me. I think I remember mentioning also in my skeptical mindset at that point that while I felt what I felt, I wanted to continue on to research other coaches and learn what other people are offering. And the second meeting I had was night and day, where I sat on the other side of the line and I listened to someone essentially pitch a process that they would go through for their coaching. I hung up the phone or ended the call, and I remember talking to my wife about it, and there was no question at that point that I had no need to look at other coaches and to go back to you, because again, that feeling of discomfort, which I knew I needed to push forward, was ultimately what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so powerful. What do you think got you over the hump of the skepticism, though? Because I know you were like, well, do I need a coach? Like, Tiger Woods has coaches. I think this may be a good idea for me. Like, I know we had a great talk, and, I pushed you really hard. I challenged you. I had you get up out of your chair, I even think, at some points. And, but what do you think was the turning point for you to just pull the trigger and say, you know what, like, I'm going to go for it?
No, I agree 100%. I think, in our conversation and while I was sweating and uncomfortable, it made me realize that I had work to do. And to your point, in terms of alignment, I need someone to help me get this work done. And with what I was experiencing at that point in time, I think that was a signal to me that if this is what we're feeling and experiencing in the first 60 minutes of a conversation, imagine the opportunity of what can be experienced over the next 6 to 8 months. And I think somewhere in that conversation, it was also, you may have pushed a button in terms of either do it or don't, right? If I have the objective to make change, well, then am I going to go back to, what I have been doing, or am I going to do something different to try and drive that change? And this was completely out of my comfort zone, completely out of anything I've done before. And again, it was aligning in my head that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right, and I want to see results. This was the opportunity for me.
We keep showing up in the same way. We keep doing the same processes. We're not going to change. Like, the results are not going to change. We've got to do things differently. We've got to show up differently in order to create those transformations. And that you did. So let's get into that, because my goodness, I mean, there has been so many buckets of life. Like, I have like an entire sheet here of like everything that you have been able to transform in such a short time, because when we think about 6 months or 7 months of our lifetime, that is actually like, in a year, we think, oh, that's a long time. But if you actually look at a lifetime, that's a very short, stint of time to be able to create all the things that you did and learn the skill sets. Because what we did together was like teach you the skill sets of, emotional regulation, of, reprogramming your mind, of, these habits and routines, integrating them into your identity. Like, all of those types of things that we did was skill based, and it's going to last with you forever. It's not something that just lasts in the 6 months of like actually coaching together, because that's what I do. And I think what I do differently amongst other coaches is we're not just getting on every week and talking about like, how's your week? How did it go? What got in your way? How can we move through it? That kind of coaching is a forever type of relationship, where with my clients, sure, I work with them sometimes for years because they just want to keep going to all sorts of new levels that they didn't even know they could accomplish. But it's like my work is to be able to teach my clients how to have those foundational principles and integrate it into their identity, so that that's just who they become and who they are forever. And no matter what level you decide to go to with or without me, you're going to be able to do it because now you have those skills to do it. And so we did so much of that, like with routines and talking about like new levels of influence and persuasion and identity work and who you wanted to be in the world. And you've really accomplished extraordinary things. So could you, I don't know, like where do we even start? like where do you want to start? What do you think is like the biggest thing? And then we'll move on from there.
As you were speaking, again, I was reflecting on the process that took place with the work that you and I had done together. And it all starts with us seeking clarity. I think what you were really strong with me at the beginning was to ensure that we were clear on what I wanted to do. And then I love that you said this. You said something like, you're not just here every week to catch up and see how I'm doing. And you said it just a second ago, but you will be relentless in helping me move the needle with the goals that I set. When I think about the different buckets of where I wanted to drive change in my life, one was health and fitness, or healthy body and mind. One was, creating more simplified life, either being more efficient with things in my life. And the last is what I call getting what I want, as it relates to, engagement with my family, freedom down the road from, worries of finance and employment. Ultimately what we call the wealth machine, and driving a pathway to the future and finances. When we start with the first bucket, which was healthy body and mind, I'm 10 pounds lighter and more ripped than I've been in the last 10 years. And I literally feel like I'm 10 years younger in terms of my fitness and my health. What was very cool about the process is there's sort of this halo effect that happens with the people that are working with you, right? Like, so I'm the one doing the work with you, which ultimately has me sharing the experience with my wife, me sharing the experience with my teammates, me sharing the experience with colleagues. And those people are also affected in the process. So my wife her journey has her at minus 30 pounds and incredibly fit. Like that's just mind blowing. As it relates to, efficiencies in my life, like I think one incredible thing, sometimes painful, I'm not going to lie, but incredible, was tracking things. You created awareness in my life with respect to things I'm doing in my life that I may have not even understood or when I'm looking to create an efficiency, well, I think the only way we can get better with things is if you track it. And so you had me track my time and how I'm managing my time, how I'm planning to use my time. You had me track my finances and how I'm spending my money, as well as what's coming in, which created a whole new set of awareness. You had me track my thoughts. So on a 15-minute timer throughout the entire day, I was tracking what I was thinking, not just what I was thinking, but how I was feeling as it relates to those thoughts, right? And so a number of different things from an awareness standpoint, but also giving me the ability to change based on that awareness.
I think we even did an intuition tracker, didn't we?
I mean, we did everything.
Yeah, I know. Every bucket of life we were tracking, like literally every little thing.
Yeah. And again, that's part of the work, right? Like I think at times it was painful to do these things, but the vision, I had you helped me create a very strong vision for what I want to accomplish. And so if that was my vision, well then, here's how you get there. And it's I think with anything that is as meaningful as this in our lives, there's going to be some work behind it, if not a lot of work. And this experience has been a lot of personal work, personal development, and an investment in creating awareness and different things in my life in order to drive change, right? So that's all part of the process. And then last but not least, in terms of the quote unquote wealth machine that we worked on together, I had a lot of concern around my finances and the future. You helped me create clarity in terms of what I want to do with that part of my life. And so I started investing in different investment projects. I started investing in the future for my children with respect to their education. I started looking at projects where we could buy a home, renovate a home, rent a home, and refinance, right? So we really created a nice pathway to that type of business opportunity for myself. So much so where I'm now incorporated and have my first project on the radar. So a lot of great things that you certainly helped in moving the needle.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is so extraordinary. And I just want to touch on this too, is that the renewed passion for what you were doing, because a lot of people, they come to me and they think the only thing they need is a career change. But what we saw with you is that, yes, you want a side of entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? Like, but your career you can still breathe life into your career and what you're doing today while you're building, something on the side in terms of business or in terms of investment projects or in terms of like what we call the wealth machine for you, right? Like, so I want to talk about that because a lot of people sort of end up bouncing around and they actually take the rug out from underneath of them per se. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go all in on my business. I'm going to leave this corporate career because it's like, soul sucking or whatever. They're not getting the fulfillment that they want from it. And I think there's something to be said there for that transformation with you, because I know that like you started showing up there differently and like your relationship with your career changed also while you were doing the other entrepreneurial things you want to do. And so it's sort of this mentality that I really help my clients to do. It's not a this or that. It's like we get to have it all, and just how you're showing up in these different buckets is relative to being able to have it all, and so let's just braze on that for a little bit, because I do work with a lot of people that are in a similar position to you.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. And I say that because I think the new life and new energy that I found in my career was a byproduct of our actual goals. Like I don't think that was one of the goals that I had set out for or was intentional to accomplish. But I think, when I look at this as a big picture, if I wanted to be a better husband, if I wanted to be a better father, if I wanted to be a better friend, son, leader, you name it, I think they're all connected, right? And so with the work we did together, and to your point about choosing how I'm going to feel about things every day, it gave me clarity on a number of different things or a number of different levels that helped in every single piece. Every single piece of my life became more clear as I focused on owning each part of my life. Well, you helped me find the words that describe how I want to live on a day-to-day basis, right? And so a key word that I think we've already talked about today is inspire or inspired. And so that's, for me, when I'm living an inspired life, it gives new energy and new life to whatever I'm doing. And so, while I might have aspirations or goals as it relates to, an entrepreneurial pathway and that wealth machine, it was also creating happiness and inspiration in my day-to-day life with my career.
Yeah, and that inspiration just trickles over, like you're saying, into every category, like the way that you were showing up in your marriage and for your beautiful children. And I mean, didn't you win like an award at that last event, like the most present dad or something? Like, what
You're
was
right.
this award?
I think most engaged parent or something like that. And yeah, so I mean,
Yeah, all of it is so exciting. So let's go to the mindset, because I know that we did a lot of reprogramming your mind, a lot of like changing the self-talk that was going on, changing the perception of how some things were being viewed that may have not been supportive to the overall, objectives and ambitions that you really wanted to achieve. So let's talk about that, because I feel like the level of confidence that got shifted during our time together was just absolutely next level. So let's talk a little bit about that.
That was a major change for me. And I think the almost victim mindset is probably where I was living more than I was even aware of. And I would have considered myself a very optimistic, glasses half full, positive guy. But again, with the process that we took in terms of the thought tracker, it really opened my mind to how much I was actually living in a negative mindset. And I think some clarity that you helped me achieve here is I can own how I feel about a certain situation, or I can control how I'm going to react to a situation. And I think prior to this work that we had done, I was probably more on the side of, this is happening to me, and this is what it is at times. And I think, again, the more that I was owning the situation, the more that I was owning how I was going to feel about a situation, was a complete game changer for me.
So like the skill set to like emotionally regulate, because I feel like when we have tough things, and we all have tough things on whatever level that looks like, in everyone's life every day, like you said, we're going to get thrown curveballs, we're going to get thrown challenges, we're going to get thrown, tough things that we have to show up for or not. And that's all a decision, and how we view things, really changes how we end up feeling on a day-to-day basis. Because if we're viewing things always from like, oh, this is happening to me, and like we can go down those negative rabbit holes very easily, because our mind is sort of programmed to do that. And so by like zoning out, being the observer of our thoughts, being the observer of what's happening on like a third person level, and like looking at it from like a higher vision and having that skill set to do that. Not a lot of people understand how to do that. They can't even see that they're in the box, you know? And so like when I work with my clients, it's really important to me to teach them how to like zoom out, you know, how to get that bird's eye view and go, all right, like what's going on here, and choose differently. Like if we're looking at things, you know, in not such a great light, or, you know, in a way that's not making us feel the way we want to feel, well, then we always have the choice to change that, rearrange it, choose to see things differently, choose to see the gratitude in everything, choose to see that everything's happening for us, choose to see that through the challenges that we grow and, you know, we get stronger and we learn, you know, the things that we need to learn in order to go to the next level, because we all want to grow and we all want to evolve. And so we're almost asking for those every day. And life would be pretty boring if we just cruised and didn't have anything, you know, challenging to show up for. Like it would be pretty boring, you know? So it's like learning that at an identity level, integrating that at an identity level, you know, that particular skill set like really branches out and affects every single thing in our life. You know, whatever relationships that we have in our life, it affects that. The money we have in our bank account, it affects that. The results that we have in our health, it affects that. You know, the way we sleep, it affects that. So I'm really happy that, you know, you're at a place where you feel like that powerful, you know, that powerful point of attraction, which leads me into the next thing, because thoughts then create emotions, then create actions. And we did work on your magnetism, your point of attraction. We did a lot of energy work that wasn't just like energy in terms of I'm going to have my protein drinks, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to work out, I'm going to get great sleep. Although physiology on that level is so important to performance, there's also a physiology part of things that I work on with my clients that is more on the energetic field around us, our magnetism point, being able to really attract things into our life with more ease, with more flow, versus like that hustle. I've got to create this outcome. I've got to force this outcome. I've got to do it. Otherwise it's not going to get done. And it's like this very forceful push forward energy. And although both those energies work, I feel like a big piece of what I do with my clients is helping them to live a life that's more in flow, that's more in ease, that's more congruent with like, you know, what everyone wants, which is peace, you know, and not having to like do that whole hustle thing, which it works, but maybe not the most enjoyable journey. And I've created success both ways. So I know very well that they both work, and you can hustle all the way that you want, all the way to the top. There's no wrong thing about that. But I feel like a lot of people, they get burnt out with that method. They have adrenal fatigue. They start to have a lot of health issues. I know for me that I did. And that's not sustainable over the long term, you know? And that's why we look at a lot of wealthy people that are just, they're not actually happy in their life, and they have a lot of issues, you know, health challenges and these things, because, you know, they're doing it that way. And so let's touch on that and what you feel was the most important piece for you in terms of like flow and ease and living the life of magnetism.
I think the only thing I knew prior to that was hustle, right? If I was going to get ahead, if I was going to get things done, it was all about the hustle and the grind. And so with the change in mindset and having a more open mind, more positive mind, and increasing the magnetism as you referenced, I mean, we saw some incredible things happen actually in real time, where if my mindset happened to be off at a particular time or point, the magnetism was off. Like there was no action. And then on the converse of that, when my mindset was in the right frame of mind, things would happen almost magically. Yeah. So magnetism to me was a very big learning point. And again, interconnected to the work around mindset and being more on the positive and open side, rather than living in that funk that was the prior version of me.
Yeah, which is so important. And also attracting opportunities. I know that you were like a machine at some points, like just attracting all these opportunities, and your team was like going to total new levels because you were like seeing all of the goals and visions that you had for them all coming to fruition, you know, ahead of time, and, you know, really working on just being the creator of every little aspect of your life. And you saw the results massively in real time in a lot of these things. So, so happy about that for you. But I would love to braze on your effectiveness as well, because I think a lot of people, like relative to hustle, like if we're going to talk about hustle, you know, a lot of people don't understand that you can, productivity, you can be productive, right, but not effective. And I think we got you to the point where you were feeling so much more engaged, so much more present in what you were doing. You were doing things with a higher level of excellence, because you learned how to be more effective. So I want to talk about those results, because you said earlier, like you learned that, but I don't think that I want to really hone in on like what transformed. Like, was it your everyday feeling of, you know, your progress and your effectiveness, or was it like you didn't have so much overwhelm, or like what happened because of your ability and the skill set that we worked on to be more effective with time management, project management, and all the things that you had going on in your life?
Man, there is a lot to unpack there. I mean, as part of trying to be more efficient or find efficiencies in my life, we had to track time, right? And that, I think let me see. So when, in terms of time tracking and trying to understand how I was managing my time, it became clear that there were, I mean, a number of different opportunities to change things to get my head in the right space. So let me give you some examples. And so, you know, one of the most important things, I think, for energy for me was sleep. And so yet another thing that we tracked was sleep. And with the use of, you know, my Apple Watch and a sleep tracking app, I saw my sleep improve while we were doing our work with each other. And it's simple things, like things, again, that would be very obvious, but not so obvious if you're stuck in a funk or you're not looking for it. And so, you know, I had my office, if you remember, I had my office set right beside my bed. And so there was a computer and an iPad and an iPhone and a television, all sort of in this space where it's supposed to be a, you know, a space of relaxation and serenity, was more like high energy and technology. The entire time I would work, I had a television beside me with the news. And so I was getting fed, you know, negativity all day long. So once we were able to clean up some of my sleeping habits and get myself to a better sleeping state, that created more energy. Where else was I leaking? I mean, in terms of time tracking and learning where I was spending some time, social scroll, right? And I think there's a number of different words for that, but I would spend time scrolling through social media, scrolling through news. I'd be on phone calls and I would get email alerts, news notifications, text messages. And so if engagement and energy is what I wanted, all those things were taking me away from being focused or being engaged, and also extremely distracting. I remember one time I was preparing for a presentation and I had my laptop open and PowerPoint in front of me with literally 3 things on a things to do list to accomplish with that PowerPoint. I spent the entire day answering emails and picking up phone calls and did nothing with that presentation. And so, again, some of the work that we did together was to get tight or clean on how I was operating, right? So high performance habits for focus, for clarity, for time management, and these, in the end, again, are things that to this day I'm very aware of, and maybe to a point where I may be a little much for my colleagues when I'm also coaching them while they're on the phone with me and writing emails and texting and sort of, again, giving my 2 cents on how that change for me had been a dramatic change.
Yeah, I mean, there's that ripple effect happening again, which I really love. So all right. Well, any other sort of transformations that you want to share with people? I know that we've talked through, that you're more effective. I believe that's created more time freedom for you. Just your relationships, there's more presence there, more engagement just in everyday life. Your sleep's better. You've got the body that you set out to, get back to. Your health is on point. Your diet has shifted and changed. The ripple effect that's happening. Your wife is also on the train with you. She's, optimizing herself as well. You're happier. You have more confidence. I mean, we've talked about a lot of things. So if you could recap it, in your own words, basically what I just kind of said, what would you say to wrap it all up in a nice little box and say, this is everything that I did and you want this?
Yeah. And this takes me back to our initial conversation in that, we set goals together to accomplish over our time. And we literally hit every single goal that we set out to do. You were relentless in helping me move the needle in all those goals. As a byproduct of that, there were a lot of different things that happened, from a halo effect with other people, feeling the same energy that was in my life. I found new happiness in my career, which I think was an incredible byproduct of this. And to be honest, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface. Right. And I think that's the opportunity moving forward, is to continue to do the work and practice the work that we have done. But then something that I love in our process is always looking for the next level. Right. And so this might be the first epic change in my life, but I know there's room for ongoing change and ongoing transformation, if you will, that will take me to the next level in that journey.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Is there anything else that you would love to tell someone else? Like, hey, this is what we did. I really love these aspects of the program itself. This is the way Tiffany coached me. Like, maybe just a little bit more about like how you experienced the coaching between us, or our relationship. Like, how would you tell someone that went for you?
Yeah. So I'll go back to, you are relentless with driving change, right? You are relentless with helping us. You are relentless with helping me achieve the goals that we set out to accomplish. And so, with a call every 2 weeks, and an hour for each call, that's not a lot of time to do catch ups and recaps on the week, and talk about successes while you're trying to help me drive forward. So it's, something that was really helpful was the addition of the Voxer app, and our opportunity to work with each other in between coaching sessions, and so that I could do the work with you throughout the 2 weeks, and then find the next thing to work on with you during our coaching sessions. I think that was extremely key, because there was never a time where I wasn't able to engage my coach, engage you. And it felt like there was ongoing work that could be done outside of the actual coaching sessions. The other thing that I'd say was incredible for me, and this is, I can imagine it's being effective for everybody, but it's one that was heavily impactful for me, is your personal attachment to your clients, right? I think we shared cheers. We shared tears, and oftentimes, I mean, all times, tears of joy, whether it was extreme, like inspiration, or massive transformation. But we celebrated wins, and oftentimes they were like exploding with emotion. And so, I found that very special with you, because that was a connection that was important for me with my coach. And I think that's ultimately what helped me get that much more attached and connected to the process, and push forward with achieving the goals that we set out.
Yeah. And as I always say, like, I think in our initial call, I told you, I was like, when you tell me what you want, your goals and your ambitions just became my own, like, not that I take ownership that I'm going to go do the thing for you, right? Like, but I take that very seriously. I take that to heart, and there's no way that anything falls off my radar, because that's what I want when I have my coaches. I want to make sure that I'm held to a higher standard. I'm held to my word, that I follow through on what I say I'm going to do, and that we're able to do that together. And then also, like, having that collaborative relationship, that collaborative approach. I feel like that's why I don't want to call you a client, because you're like a colleague, you're a friend, you're a soul like person in my life. Like, you're my people. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're doing this type of relationship. It's like, no, we do life and business together. Like, we walk as leaders on this planet right now together. And so if anyone out there is watching this, or they are looking for a coach, they're on the fence of whether or not they're going to work with me, do you have any words of wisdom for them? Like, what would you say? What would you have wished that you had heard, just as a little bit of extra confirmation before you signed with me?
I want to throw it out there to people that if there's any interest in seeking a coach, take the time to interview your coaches. Take the time to spend with Tiffany. There is really a special connection that happens when you, in the first call, feel that that energy that is different than everybody else. And so don't take my word for it. Don't take Tiffany's word for it. But I'd say take the time to explore it, and you will see.
Look at you, just empowering people to do their own self-leadership. You are extraordinary. That is perfect, excellent example of what good leadership is, right? Go and feel it for yourself. Go and experience this for yourself. Trust yourself that you are gonna make the right decision for you, because when you get that intuitive hit, like, oh, okay, this is the one, or oh, okay, I'm afraid, maybe I should follow that fear, maybe I should pick up that fear and walk with it, like, you're in the right direction. And so I love that. So thank you so much, Dave, for spending this time with me, this time with us. And is there anything, just to recap, like one thing that you would say to people to inspire them and to tell them, like, hey, what you want is possible for you as long as you decide? That's what I would say. But what would be your last little tidbit of words of wisdom for people who are like, can I really create change in my life? Because you're just such a shining example of, extraordinary transformation in such a short period of time, because you decided you were worth it. You decided, to seek that clarity. You decided to get the support that you needed. And so a lot of people are afraid to make that leap for themselves. So what would you say to just recap here and inspire the audience?
Yeah, so I would say that we are all able to achieve what we want. I would say that I was skeptical of what was possible, or maybe unaware of what was possible. And if what I was able to accomplish was possible, and Tiffany and has highlighted a number of different things. I truly believe that it is possible for others to accomplish very similar things. You just have to want it. And once you understand that you want it, it is available to you. Is it easy? Not necessarily. And in my case, I think it was a very challenging road, but a very rewarding road to come out on this side of it. And again, reflect on all the goals that we set out for ourselves, or all the goals I set out for myself that you helped me achieve. And it's mind blowing. It really is. And so again, one thing to leave: if you want it, you can have it. You just have to make the choice to do it.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom, Dave. I'm sure we inspired all the people out there who are on the hunt for change, transformation, and their next level. So thank you for joining us. I so appreciate it. It's been an honor to support you. And literally, I'm getting like goosebumps now, just thinking about like, you know, our journey that we've been on together. And it's just an honor. Like, having you in my life is my purpose. You know, helping and support people in this way is what I was born here to do on earth. And without you, I wouldn't be able to live that out. So thank you so much. And I could just probably cry right now. Pure tears of joy. So we will see you maybe in the next round of coaching. Who knows where we'll end up here. But thank you so much for sharing your experience, being vulnerable with everybody. And yeah, looking forward to our next journey together.
Thank you, Tiffany.